Yes. Yes. How we doing? How we doing? The aftermath show. The aftermath show on a Sunday evening. How we all doing? I wanted to do this a little bit earlier, but I seen Annie was going live at about 6, so I said, okay, I normally like to go about 6, go like from 6, half 6 till 7, but look, I said we'll do it now. We'll get a few people locked in the chat, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Give me a sec. I want to make sure the sound's okay. Yeah, that sound is much better. You know I'm using the mic as opposed to the headset because there's no way. You see, with the headset, it doesn't sound as good, but I can plug a charger in. Whereas this one, an hour is normally enough because StreamYard just drinks the battery. So an hour is normally good enough, so I can get away with using the proper mic. It just sounds so much better. G-Man, your shot yesterday when he was knocked out will never be beaten. I know, man. It just was so. Do you know something? Right? It was just it was the nature of it, how brutal it was, and I think that like if Conlan had just been dropped, as in like it was just simple as right, he was just dropped or something like that, I would have probably been excited or something like that. I would have been animated, but I don't think it was just the way it just came so quickly, and just you knew Leigh Wood was going to go for broke. And you could just, I don't know about you, but you could just feel something was coming in that 12th round. You just had that feeling that something was going to happen in that 12th round and it was going to change things. And boy, did it. I mean, that was crazy. That was just such a crazy ending. And the problem was the angle you seen on the live feed, it literally did look like Conlan just collapsed and nothing landed because you couldn't see the right hand. Obviously, subsequently after I made my post fight, I was able to see that shot from different angles from people in the crowd. And obviously, like it was a brilliant right hand that Leigh Wood threw. As Conley was pulling his glove down, Leigh Wood came through with the right hand. Fantastic shot. Conley was out cold. And luckily, members of his team stopped his head from slamming off the canvas. Apparently, it did still land. And apparently, he was kind of conscious and unconscious at the same time. But thankfully, I mean, thank God, he was okay. But Jesus, that was a hell of a fight, hell of a knockout. I watched it again today, and I seen the scorecards. So two judges had it 104, 103 to Conlan going into the last round. And the other judge had it 115, 102 to Conlan. So let's say, for argument's sake, the knockout never happened, and Leigh Wood was on top in that last round. So say he would have won that last round, we would have got a majority draw. I think that would have took away from how good a fight it was if we got a majority draw, because Mick Conlan, watching it back like the next day, Mick Conlan was well ahead. Mick Conlan, I have no idea what Belly was watching, how he had it so close. Mick Conlan was well ahead. Like he gave rounds 9 through, he gave rounds 8, 9, and 10 to Leigh Wood. And I actually gave all them rounds to Conlan. Because, yeah, Leigh Wood was trying really, really hard. He was trying to force the action. He was trying to, get Mick Conlan out of there. But in the exchange, Conlan was the better guy. At long range, Conlan was superior. And I couldn't see that fight going any other way than Mick Conlan win at that stage. Shout out to Ali. If that was the real Ali Drew, I'd be excited, but it's clearly not. You need to come on, Pro Bellum team. I'll reference you. Yeah, cheers, love. Big up to Joe Stunner every single time, man. Going strong. Hit 300 subs there during the week. I hope, man, you keep going strong. Big up to boxing. Yo. Top of the evening, son. Top of the evening, you find Son of Swords. Yeah. Yeah, big up. Swords is a good spot. It's a nice place to live. It is, to be fair. The judge that was recently downgraded had Woods up by 5 rounds. Yeah, Ian John Lewis. That sounds about right. That sounds like a scorecard he would have. Yeah, that reaction, man. It was just such a shock. It was just the nature of it, man. When I seen it, and I was thinking in my head, like, I had a feeling something was going to happen in that 12th round, but I just didn't see that coming. Certainly not like that. Not like that. That was just such a, yeah. It just, I don't know. It just kind of, I still kind of am a bit perplexed about that. And shout out to Jamie, Punch Perfect. Past 3K subs last night, my man. Big up. I told you get there before me. Once boxing is running strong and we have good fights, competitive fights, the subs just grow. Like, I think you gained, 100 subs overnight. I got 50 overnight. when you have a big card on and you do like a watch along, a live after and a post fight straight after, they just come. You just get them. That's why it's so good when we have regular boxing that your channel will just kind of pick up, especially because you can piggyback off it as well and just, you know, kind of do follow-up videos. Insane comeback. Conlan must be kicking himself for not surviving that final 90 seconds. I'd say he's kicking himself for expending too much too early, because he really went for it early on, didn't he? And I think that might have been his undoing, because you could see it, even though Conlan was winning the later rounds up until the 11th, how do I say it? You could see the energy was leaving him, even though he was in control. Even though he was winning the rounds, you could see by his face that, you know, he was feeling it. Now, Conlan's normally someone who can fight at, you know, a decent pace for 12 rounds, but he was feeling the pace of that fight. You could see it in him. Even just his facial features, even the way he was kind of reacting to things, he was getting a bit slower. Even though he was still superior, you could see he was feeling it towards the end. And that's when Leigh Wood was able to kind of come on strong and get the job done, basically. It's still quite remarkable when I watched that first round knockdown this morning, how he was able to carry on and continue. I mean, that was crazy. That really was that was such a heavy knockdown early on when you're cold, that Leigh Wood was just, I thought he was finished at that point. So shout out to him, and of course big up to Jamie every single time, and to Joe Stunner Boxing, two great channels, both of them growing exponentially. Show us the bag. I don't have the bag with me, mate. All I have is a bottle, and it's not the piss bottle. The famous Thai Bamboo piss bottle. Conlan impressed me. He did. The skill gap between him and Leigh Wood was vast. I mean, like, I picked Leigh Wood to stop Mick Conlan late, so I guess you could say your prediction came true in that regard. But I thought he'd break him down with body shots, and it'd be kind of like a case of Leigh Wood could be ahead, Conlan could be ahead. This fight was there. It's just like Conlan was ahead. Was clearly winning, and then that happened. I'm just catching up on a nasty ending. Yeah, and like the angle, as I said yesterday on that stream or on the zone feed, it looked like Conlan just collapsed. It didn't look like a shot landed because you couldn't see it from that area. Where are we at? Big up to TZR Anonymous. Hey G man, big up to you, man, every time. I've been locked in for a while, mate, so big up to you. Was wrecked last night. Yeah, man. Set day session Preston. I never been Preston, man. I'm not sure whereabouts in the UK that is. I mean, the football team's North End, so I'd imagine it's somewhere in the North End. You think Bivol has a real chance of beating Canelo? I think he will win the fight, but get robbed on the cards. Yeah, I do think that Bivol has a good chance of beating Canelo. I really do. And you know something, right? I think the fight's going to go ahead. I really do. I think the fight's going to go ahead. But also, I wonder if the fact that genuinely I wouldn't rule this out happening. If Bivol boxes really well and does enough to win the fights, it's not just that Canelo is the cash cow, is the A fighter. But I wonder if the fact that he is from said country, honest to God, maybe the sanction bodies wouldn't do him any favors. Maybe the commissions wouldn't do him any favors. You know the way how mad some of these people are. Like, you had Lou DiBella saying he shouldn't fight Canelo, even though he's nothing to do with what's going on, just because he's from there. So Lou DiBella's an idiot. But I wouldn't rule that out. I wouldn't rule something like that out happening. It was a bit random. It's cool, mate. Let's have an online chat sometime. Man, Jamie is good like that, man. Jamie will send you a link if you know how to do it, and he'll have a chat. I should get you on here sometime for a quick one as well, because I've had Jamie, I've had Chris. So I should get you on here sometime, Joe, whenever you're free. Am I alone thinking Conlan wasn't a mile ahead by the 12th round? I thought he was quite far ahead. You know, obviously without the sound, and watch it with the commentary on. And I wasn't influenced by the commentary because Bellew had Conlan ahead. I just felt that, as I said last night, even in the rounds where there wasn't much happening, Conlan was landing the shots that caught the eye. His work was a lot cleaner, was a lot more effective. Your voice reached such a high octane that were not possible for a man. Yeah, man, I was shocked for that, man. And Jamie, yeah, great channel. Woods got lucky. I don't think Woods got lucky. I think he showed tremendous heart, determination to win. And, man, it was just such a shock, man. How does this compare to the old Diego? Nothing's going to compare to that. I mean, it's the fact that that was just such, like, when you watch that fight, you just think, how in God's name did he get? Like, bear in mind, right? This isn't like Leigh Wood was dropped twice in the 12th round and came on to stop Mick Conlan. He was dropped in the first round and he came back and rallied late. But that Diego Corrales Castillo fight was just like, that was crazy. That was just such a, that's the, you won't get a better one than that. Like, that was just, how in God's name Diego Corrales was able to rally and do that is beyond me. Just watched RTE Sports and they said Conlan is managed by MTK, who have Keenan links. Nothing about the great performance. But mate, that's RTE though. RTE are absolutely the worst. Like, people say the BBC in the UK is bad. RTE are the worst media organization you will ever have. They want to suck the life out of anything. And yeah, they would say that. But RTE are absolutely horrendous. I always donate because I want to. Simple as. Big up to Mr. Burns. Yeah, Preston. Yes, Preston North End. Preston were the first winners of the English League. I did not know that. I did not know that. So yeah, man. Anytime would be a pleasure. So this week I think I'm okay, kind of towards the end of the week, more so kind of Thursday. So even if you wanted to come on, we wouldn't have to do it live. You could do it live if you wanted. If we did, whatever you prefer. And we could do a pre-record or we could record it live, go out and, yeah, you know, just be a bit like what me and Jamie have done, me and Chris have done, Ade have done, just talk about general boxing. Just keep it as a boxing chat if you're up for it. I know you have StreamYard, so it'd be more than fine for you to come on. It'd be great to have other guys on this channel. That's one thing I don't do a lot of, is I don't tend to get, like, I don't get many people on because I just never think of it. Like, JB's concept of doing that between round series is brilliant because it just does, it gives loads of other people a chance to get on, even some bigger YouTubers, some smaller YouTubers. Just gives everyone a chance. I really don't think that, I just don't think about it enough. Like, my kind of way of doing it is, like, I stream when I want to, and I make sure to get a video recorded every night sometimes too. That's kind of how I have it kind of set in stone like that. But yeah, let me know when you're free. Send me an email or whatever, and I will see how I can do this week. I probably should be fine more towards the end of the week. We've got 2 bank holidays over here. We've got Paddy's Day on Thursday, and we've got an extra bank holiday on Friday. Lara ices everyone but Navarrete Day. Yeah, Leigh Wood shouldn't go anywhere near Lara. I wouldn't put him. Lara is dangerous. Navarrete is, he's number 1. He's number 1 at 126 pounds. Navarrete is a fantastic fighter, really is. And Navarrete will cause problems at 130 as well. Make no mistake about that. But Lara is absolutely fantastic. You know, I think he's one of them fighters where when we looked at him going in against Josh Warrington and no one knew who he was prior to that, we've seen his resume, you know, we've seen the 2 defeats, but then you start actually looking at him and you can see this guy can really fight, and above all else, he can bang. And it really does make the matchmaking for Lara versus Warrington. He was out of the ring for, 18 months, and you're putting him in there with a Mexican puncher who is happy to take your shot. That was always going to end in tears. And you know what? I reckon if Warrington wins against Kiko, and I'm picking Warrington to win, I reckon they will try and get the Leigh Wood fight. They'll try and get a Leigh Wood unification. And I think the Lara trilogy would be a last resort, because I think that in that rematch, we could all see what was coming. It was kind of apparent from the first round Warrington had was actually quite good. I think he gained a bit of confidence in that first round because he did do a good first round against Lara. He was boxing a bit, he was keeping it well, and he won that round. And then in the second round, that's when Lara started getting through. And that's when you saw the confidence wane from Josh Warrington. I think he knew, shit, I know what's coming. He had flashbacks to that first fight. And, you know, Josh Warrington against Kiko is going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be a really, really interesting fight. And I'll tell you why. Because when Josh fought Kiko 5 years ago, Josh was still just above European level at the time. And Kiko would have still been at world level. would have still been in around that world level stage. And Josh Warrington won the fight. It was competitive, but he won it. And now we've got an older Kiko who's definitely, although he's a world champion, he is probably on the decline still. You know, he was getting soundly beaten by Kid Galahad prior to the stoppage. But yet we have a Josh Warrington who's had his chin dented, and dented bad. And I don't know how he's going to be, because we only seen him for just over three rounds against Lara. We don't know how his chin's going to be. We don't know how his confidence is going to be. You know, I know Martinez isn't really the kind of swarm all over you guy that Lara is. Yeah, he can pressure, but he can counter punches as well, very well. And I just wonder if he's able to land on Josh Warrington, even if it's not with full power, even if it's grazing, will them demons come back to Josh Warrington? I don't know. I do think that, you know, having the fans there will help Josh Warrington, but at the same time, I thought that against Lara, and it didn't really. You know, he definitely boxed better in the first round, but the minute it started getting tough in there, started getting flashbacks to the first fight, we saw what happened. How far can Conlan go? I think Michael Conlan coming back, they'll need to just give him a couple of easy touches for the first or second fight. Just because that was such a brutal knockout, and the fact that he was, you know, stretchered out. They'll need to just be careful with him coming back. Don't put him in there with any punchers. Just early on, like, he'll need a bit of a rest as well. That was a tough fight. In terms of world titles, I'm sure he'll win a world title. That I'm sure of. He wants to be a 3-weight world champion. He wants to be Ireland's only 3-weight world champion. I don't see that happening unless they go and take every easy fight, every easy champion. I don't see that. But there's definitely a world title in Mick Conlan. I definitely think that after that fight, but I'm still not going to throw it out and say he's going to dominate or anything like that. I don't see that, but he is superior to Leigh Wood in every aspect, and the only thing was Leigh Wood just had the will to win. And sometimes that's, like, look at Rocky Marciano is a prime example. I mean, he fought guys like Ezra Charles. He fought guys like Joe Walcott. He fought guys like Roland Lazarza, who were technically, like, much better boxers. Like, Ezra Charles was a much better fighter than Rocky Marciano in terms of technique and just sheer boxing ability, but he just wouldn't be stopped. I mean, Marciano was he just would not be stopped. He wouldn't stop punching. His shots were extremely heavy-handed. He had great stamina, great work rate, and he was one of them guys where he just was not going to be stopped by any means necessary. Lara's the best better, mate. No mention of him getting the fight against Warrington again, or Wood. Yeah, like, Lara, I didn't even know until fight week he was on that card in America, on the Chocolatito card. I didn't even know until fight week he was on that. I think that Lara is going to be one where he's going to struggle. Unless he's a mandatory, he's going to struggle. Leigh Wood wouldn't give him a voluntary. Josh Warrington, last chance, last resort. If all else fails in terms of matchmaking for Josh Warrington, they can always pull the trilogy fight out of the bag. It's a good little cash-out fight for him. If he wants to kind of retire with a big paycheck, they can do the Lara trilogy. He ain't going to beat Lara. I mean, just that, you just know Josh Warrington's not going to beat Mauricio Lara. You know, he would need to be, as I said, he'd need to box to a perfect game plan. And he tried that in the first round, worked very well. But the minute Lara started tagging him, started putting pressure on him, you could see he was just like, oh no. He sent me an email. Okay, cool, man. Cool, man. I will check that when I finish up here, and we'll sort something out. You know, I actually forgot that this week's only a 3-day week in Ireland anyway. Conlan doesn't have the punch power to compete at world level. He would have stopped Woods earlier had he packed a punch. He's no spring chicken either. Well, Conlan, yeah, he's going on, 31? And down at featherweight, you know, that is not, it's not an ideal age down at featherweight because they do tend to age quicker. Conlan is not a devastating puncher. I suspect that shot from Leigh Wood, that he hit Leigh Wood with, that was a lovely clean shot, but I suspect that it wasn't just the concussive effect of the shot. I think it was the fact that Leigh Wood just hadn't warmed into the fight properly. And, you know, that does happen. You know, you could be hit with a shot in the first round that in the fourth or fifth round, you feel it, but you probably take it a lot better. If you're getting hit cold, it'd be just like warming up. Like, I mean, like, they all, like, that's why I always say when you're doing weights, you're better off, even if it's only for a couple of minutes, just warm yourself up so you don't pull anything or something like that. Because I've seen loads of people do that where they just go straight into doing weight sessions. They haven't done an ounce of warm-ups, and they're getting injuries. So it's always good to just get yourself warm. Maybe Hearn will try and build Lara into a star. He needs big names from Matchroom US. Well, Lara, you know, he's got a great platform there in the zone. He's got a big punching Mexican fighter who's entertaining, easy on the eye. Look at his last fight. So with Lara, there's potential there. Like, I mean, if I was Eddie Hearn, I wouldn't be scoffing my nose at Mauricio Lara's. Not a chance. I'd be thinking, there's a bit of money to be made by this guy if we match him right. The only problem is he likes having a tear up. And that's a worry. It's a bit like, well, he's way better than Babic, but it's a bit like Babic in a sense of, if you're having too many tear ups, you run the risk of being, you know, hurt. Like he was hurt, I think, in that last fight. So you got to be careful. Punch the like button, you beautiful people. Yes, if you could. 63 in the building. And I'd really appreciate if you could smash the like button. It would help out big time. It really would. Keep the channel growing. Because we're nearly at 6,800. We're nearly at 6,800. I think I'm like 6 subs off or 4 or 5 subs off. Last time I checked anyway. So we're nearly at 6,800. So 200 more from 7K. And then it's the road to 8, 9, 10. And I reckon in the next, might be ambitious, but I hope that by summertime, say June time, to be at the 8K mark. That's the goal. I'm still convinced Warrington put the head in to get out of the fight. Yeah, I wouldn't at all be shocked if in years to come we hear him say like, oh yeah, I was a bit reckless because, you know, in my head I knew what was happening. Do we think the cut was meant to happen? I suspect it probably was. I think maybe Warrington knew the writing was on the wall, and the fact that he didn't want to get knocked out again, he was in front of his fans, and they would have rioted, believe you me. Those fans, if he got knocked out again, that wouldn't have been good. I wouldn't have liked it, because those fans, especially up there in Leeds, they are a lot more hostile. They're a lot more hostile than your typical fan. Yeah, it'd be a lot very hostile up there. I remember Ade was even saying it, like he was saying to me, he was like, I was thinking if Warrington gets knocked out, I'm getting out of here. I remember I think we were chatting on the phone or something, and he said like, all I was thinking of was, where's the nearest exit, just in case he gets knocked out, because I'm getting out of here. Lara had Warrington's number, and they get Josh out of there as they could. Yeah, and I don't think they'll put him back in with Lara unless they absolutely have to. Or unless like there's serious money to be made. Didn't know you were live, buddy. I'm with the granddaughter, so stop to smash the like button. Appreciate it, man. And yeah, no, granddaughter comes first, man. Best of luck. That's always comes first. Family always comes first in that regard. Do everything to support the channel. Appreciate it, mate. I really do appreciate it. And you know what the worst thing is? YouTube with these lives have been not helpful. People have been telling me they don't get notifications for them. I don't understand it. That's why I like doing the lives, but like when they don't get notifications, people get notifications for other videos, but just not the lives, which is really weird. I don't know why. Lara is so fun. And that's why I think Eddie Hearn will keep him. Eddie Hearn won't let Lara go. He'll keep him because he knows I've got an entertaining fighter. I've got a fighter who can put butts in seats. And I'd pick him over Leigh Wood. I'll shout out to Daz Pierce for the £2. London isn't cheap. London ain't cheap, mate. I know that. So like I spent like the whole time streaming and doing like videos to get kind of the YouTube funds up for London. That was gone after like the first 2 days. That was literally, well, it wasn't gone after 2 days. That's exaggeration, but it was gone not long after. So yeah, we're rebuilding. Woods did not impress me at all, but he impressed me in a sense that he showed tremendous heart, grit, and tenacity. But that was it. Oh yeah, no, that's a smart shout there. And see what they do is they wouldn't put him in straight away with Navarrete. In fact, I don't even think that he'd fight Navarrete because they're sparring partners, aren't they? I don't believe they're in the same camp. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I don't think they're in the same camp, but they would be building to that. And maybe they'd even try and do an Oscar Valdez fight at 130 if Oscar Valdez, as me and you both expecting to lose to Shakur. That's going to be a good fight, man. That's really good. I think that Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson fight, we really are going to see Shakur Stevenson come of age because he raised his game spectacular. Now, I picked him to be Herring, but the way he just shut him down, I mean, he is looking brilliant as of late. And I think this is the fight where he is really, it's like he's just going to move to that next level. and he's already just flourishing as a pro. And he's going to move to the next level after that fight. Mark my words. Yeah, that made perfect sense to put him on Canelo's undercards. Canelo's undercards normally are not particularly strong. Apparently, we're getting Hrgovic and Zhang on his next undercard. I don't mind that fight, to be honest with you. Like, it's not. I'd rather see the Yoka or the Parker fight, but at least Zhilei Zhang has a bit of pop there. So Hrgovic will need to be on his guard because Zhilei Zhang can punch. I think that's fair to say. Lara, AB level fighter, goes to the body for the first few rounds, then smashes it to the face. Yeah, I don't really put him A, maybe kind of fringe in around there anyway. But someone just asked there as I scroll down, Wood versus Lara? Oh, Lara definitely. He'd stop Leigh Wood. And I would confidently pick Mauricio Lara to stop Leigh Wood. Well, I think Gary Cully's a good fighter, but I think he'll cap around British level. Yeah, he is a good fighter. He is very tall and long for 135 pounds. That's one thing you notice about Gary Cully, and he uses that height very well. Like, you see the angles he uses, but you see the way he's got those long levers he has, and the way he's able to snap them shots out. There's a lot of power on them shots, and most guys at 135 pounds are not used to fighting someone who has such a height and reach advantage on them. I mean, that's, I think, one thing you notice when you see Gary Cully fight, is that he just knows I've got such long arms, such a height advantage on you, and I hit hard at long range. So you are going to have to take care and be cautious. And he's accurate, very accurate puncher, very fast. So Gary Cully, I think he'll go past European level. I really do. Do I think he'll be like one of the best in the division? Stranger things have happened. I don't think so now, but he could prove me wrong. He's training with Pete Taylor, who's an excellent coach, by the way. And Pete Taylor really knows. He understands the boxing game, and he's one of them. He's a cool, calm head that certain fighters need. And Pete Taylor's fantastic. Easier said than done. Lara has a chin on him. Yep, Lara can take a shot. I mean, I wouldn't like Josh Warrington is not a big puncher. He's not, but he's not Chris Algieri, if you know what I mean. In terms of he's not that feather fisted. There is pop there. Ask Carl Frampton. Carl Frampton knows all about it. Ask Lee Selby. Lee Selby has quite a good chin, and he was buzzed a couple of times in the Josh Warrington fight. So there is power there, but it's not. You know the way you see you see fighters who don't have a lot of KOs on their record, and you do kind of think like Leigh Wood is a good example. Doesn't have it. He hits harder than his record suggests, even though he's got a good few stoppages, but he hits much harder than that. With Josh Warrington, there is a bit more power there, but it's nothing crazy. And Lara was taking them shots like, you got nothing. I can deal with this. Crack like that. It was a serious shot that he was hit with. Lara's weakness is the body. He suffered a first round body KO early in his career and hates having the rib cage tackle. And some people are like that. Like Keith Thurman is someone who's a bit like that as well. He hates getting hit in the body. Whenever fighters tend to go to his body, he tends to really feel it. That's why him against Spence would have been a real hard fight in their primes. I mean, I think Thurman, Spence in 2016, 2017, 2018, you favour Spence just because of Spence's bodywork, and I don't think Thurman would have liked it. Although saying that, Thurman can really bang when he wants to anyway. He's previously quit from body shots. Yeah, the body will be an issue. I'm surprised. That's one thing I'm surprised Josh Warrington didn't do was go to the body shot more. That's ended in a KO. Exactly, left hook bully. Oh man, I am not the betting man when it comes to horses. I have no clue, man. Like I literally, when I meet my friends for Cheltenham, we normally go one of the days to a pub or somewhere, and I don't know. I'm just going by what they tell me and what they're all doing. Like I couldn't help you with that, man. I know nothing about it. Some of these the old time guys who just know this is this, and this guy's on form, and this guy I heard from the trainer. I don't know any of that. So I don't know, man. Put it on whoever you have a good feeling with, or whoever has a funny name. Slap it on whoever has the funniest name. Chances are he might come good. What do you think of Khan exercising the rematch clause? Is he looking for step-aside money? Possibly, mate. Or it could be that maybe Amir Khan is just thinking, do you know what? I've made my money. I could retire, but Amir Khan could be just looking and thinking, do you know what? Like, there is X amount of money on the table. What's a few more mil quid? Your health. But I don't know if Amir Khan is thinking that. 126 is poor. Fulton or MJ will be able to win a title easily. Well, Navarrete is tops in that division. Navarrete is tops. If he leaves, yes, the Fulton or AJ or MJ could move up definitely. Any thoughts on Channel 5 Renaissance? It's good for boxing, mate. I mean, terrestrial TV, it gives these fighters who are up and coming a platform where people can get to know them. You know, as I said, Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank Jr., Carl Froch, James DeGale, Eubank Senior as well. Did I say Junior or Senior? For both Eubanks fought on Channel 5. Who was the other guy? There was some other guy as well. Name escapes me. James DeGale, if I didn't already say him. But loads of these have fought on Sky, or not Sky, Channel 5 or terrestrial TV. And it does help build that platform. It's free boxing at the end of the day. If there's nothing on a Friday night, you have boxing. And I do wonder if promoters maybe are missing a trick. Now, I know maybe it's not ideal to do this, but I would, if I had, like, this is just speaking in a completely hypothetical situation. If I had my own promotional company and I had a deal with, say, Channel 5 or ITV, I might even put shows on that are televised, maybe on a Thursday or a Wednesday, in maybe, say, York Hall or somewhere like that, but get a couple of the prospects out. Because if you've got free boxing on and it's on, say, a Wednesday or a Thursday, and there's nothing on, say there's no midweek football, say there's nothing really on. Well, if you're just a general guy with the family just tuning on and you just see free boxing, chances are you're going to watch that a lot quicker. Because if you do it on a Friday night, yeah, you'll get a lot of eyes, and don't get me wrong, you will. But if people are going out or it's on a bit late, they mightn't. So I would do that, but I think it's great for boxing. I really do. I think that the more platforms these fighters and promoters have, the better it is for the fighters. You know, the more opportunities they have. That you could have good fighters who can get out and get exposure, as opposed to having to maybe, you know, fight on the small hall scene and sit around waiting, hoping you get a call for a step up to maybe take a short notice gig on Sky. You know, that's what Ryan Charlton did. And, you know, when he fought Joe Laws a couple of years ago. And obviously he had back-to-back losses since then, which is sad. He said it's back to the kitchen. But I think he got back to winning ways recently. What's your opinion about Thomas Carty? In my opinion, he's a basic Irish fighter, but could become Irish heavyweight champion due to the lack of competition. When's the last? I think Fury was the last person to win an Irish heavyweight title. We need to. I've seen Tommy Carty's first. Well, I didn't see his debut. I seen his last two fights on DAZN. I think that he needs to work on his inside game. I think the fact that he's not a taller heavyweight, he tends to fight at range a lot and hold when he gets on the inside. It kind of just get a bit kind of messy in there. I think that if you're a fighter like him, he's only about like 6'3", so he will fight guys who are just going to outreach him, who are going to have just the range on him, who are going to be able to outbox him at long range. So he's going to need to find an inside game, as opposed to just kind of tying up. At this level, he can get away with it. You know, I will reserve, like, he's only had 3 fights, so I want to give him a bit of time to progress. But I do think that's one thing he needs to do. Like, he needs to work on that inside game. Having a good inside game, especially for the heavyweight who is not, you know, a giant. You know, his weight is fairly respectable. I think he's like in around the 240s, 250s. So he's not small in terms of his body stature. But again, if he went in there against someone who was, we'll say, 6'5", 6'4", 6'6", who knows how to box at range, he's going to get picked apart. So I'd like to see him maybe just improve the inside game. I think that will be a good thing. I think that will benefit him a lot. Lara looks vulnerable to the body, yeah. Late to the stream, amazing fight last night. I'm not sure either fight will be the same again. You see, that's a very good point Ben made there, actually. It's a very good point. One thing I haven't touched on is that fight was tough for both men. So one would have to wonder, people are saying Michael Conlan is guaranteed to win a world title. There's a very good chance he will still win a world title. But that fight was brutal. It was grueling. It's a really, really, really tough fight. How do we know that that's not taking something away from Conlan? We need to bear that in mind. So I agree, and it's a very good point. It's a very good point you made there. Like, Conlan, although, yes, he did very well, and, you know, he was ahead on all of our scorecards, well, majority of people's scorecards, and we know he's a talented fighter. Such a tough fight, such a devastating knockout. That fight will take time off his career. He is 31 years old, so I don't know. It's an excellent point. Amazing fight between Wood and Conlan. Kind of reminds me of Ben McClellan, the way it unfolded, thankfully. Yeah, it did have elements. Obviously, Ben was realistically, if that fight had happened today, Nigel Benn would have been stopped in the first round. Definitely. They would have stopped that fight before he even went out of the ring. In terms of, it did. Well, it had headbutts, and thankfully, Mike Conlan didn't go the way McClellan did. I think McClellan, I love Gerald McClellan, and I watched documentaries on Ben McClellan before. I'm convinced, because it was Manny Stewart who was saying that he was blinking a lot in camp from jabs. I'm convinced McClellan had an injury going into that fight. Maybe they didn't do thorough enough brain scans or something like that, but I'm convinced, because McClellan had such a bad defense. He got hit for fun, but he had such a good chin. I mean, this is a guy who took flush shots against Julian Jackson for 5 rounds. And that was one of the best middleweight fights you'll ever see, is McClellan versus Jackson 1. But he was getting hit by Julian Jackson. Julian Jackson is one of the most dangerous, hardest punchers of all time. Look, if you look at his highlight reels and knockouts, they're all clean one-punch knockouts. The guy was an absolute freak in nature to hit so hard. And I'm telling you now, McClellan would almost, because bear in mind, right, McClellan fought Jackson, I think it was at 93. I think it was 93 when they fought, 93, 94. He had 3 defenses, all first-round knockouts. His first title defense was only like 20 seconds, so he was never getting actually hit in them fights. So he had 3 straight first-round KOs between when he fought Jackson the first time, when he fought him the second time, then he went into the Ben fight. So McClellan could have had injuries going into those other fights, even the Jackson rematch. We just don't know, because he was going in and McClellan was, I think, like 20 odd knockouts, 23, 24 knockouts in the first round. So McClellan was just such a quick starter. He would get you out of there real quick. Leigh Wood was very classy after knocking Conlan out. He was, fair play to him. Yeah, that was funny, mate. But it's true. I'm useless when it comes to horse race. Jamie, I'll tell them the story I told you. Last year on Paddy's Day, my friends and me, we were all in one of our friends' house, and I had like Paddy, I don't know, it was Paddy Power, I think it was Boyles, and they were like, all right, bet on this horse, and he was something like, say, 12-1. He was an outsider, and my friends were all saying, we're all betting money on him, put, I think, a tenner on him both ways. So if he comes first, second, or third, you get money. And I was thinking, okay, like, I'll put it on him. And this is how little I know about horse racing and betting online. They got through like the first hurdle, and my bet went from like, say, like 10 quid to like 15 quid. And I was thinking, result, he's like 12-1 and I've made 5 quid, cash out. And all my friends were like, what the hell did you do that for? I was like, but I've made a profit of 5 quid. The race isn't even over yet. The race isn't even close to being over. Anyway, I think he came third. So all my friends got 100 quid. And here's me, like, delighted with life at one stage with the fiver. And they all got 100 quid. They were like, don't cash out after one hurdle. I was thinking, like, geez, I'm after doing well there. I profited 5 quid and everyone else got 100 quid. So yeah, I know nothing about horse racing. So when people ask me for tips, I'd be just like, well, if the horse knows how to run the straight line, I'm sure he'll do all right. Apparently, Kell Brook wants 10 mil. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on that. Not holding my breath. Steve Collins. Steve Collins is a good fighter, yeah. I think he fought on Channel 5 too. Hatman saying Billy Joe looked like Father Christmas was jokes. Yeah, man, Hatman has some good jokes. Hatman says things sometimes that just, they crack me up. Like some of the things he just comes out, we don't even think about, and they just crack me up. Then you get the Dr. Hibbert laugh as well. Where's the comment gone? Where does Eric Donovan go from here after his KO last week? Nice guy, and would hate to see him become a journeyman. Yeah, Donovan is an interesting one. I think that Donovan is a good fighter. I think that his biggest issue was he turned pro quite late, which is something that a lot of Irish amateurs do, unfortunately. Donovan, you can see he's got skill. He really does. He's a very skillful fighter, tremendous fighter. But he turned pro at like 32, something like that. So quite old by featherweight standards as well. It's not like he's a heavyweight or you could say, okay, fair enough. But yeah, that KO defeat, I did think it would be a lot more competitive than it was. Donovan at one stage just wanted a European title, and he actually had a European title fight lined up, I think, in 2021, but for whatever reason didn't happen. Who's the European champion of featherweight? Jordan Gill. He might, honest to God, right, he might actually have a chance in there with Jordan Gill. I'll tell you why, because I reckon Jordan Gill won't be at his optimum for a while after that last fight. So maybe he's actually got a bit of a chance there. But I don't know what he does. I reckon he'll have a few more fights. He won't want to go out with a loss. But I don't know. I wouldn't like to see him become a dream because he is a cool guy. And he is a good fighter. I mean, don't let them 2 losses define him as a fighter. He is a better fighter than they suggest. He was beating Zach Barrett. Clearly. Just got caught. So, yeah, Donovan is cool. With Usyk out the way for a while, who would you like to see AJ fight? Probably Otto Berlin makes the most sense. Like, in terms of like who I'd like to see him fight from just a fan's point of view, Joe Joyce. But in terms of just getting someone to Minik Usyk, you'd want Otto Berlin. Southpaw, rangy, good boxer, not the biggest puncher in the world. So it should be, that's who I reckon they'll go with. York Hall is a horrible venue. Overrated, no aircon, and dirty as hell. I've never been to the York Hall. I've heard it's meant to be absolutely boiling. Especially if you go in there on like a summer's day or something. I heard it can be absolutely boiling, but I've never actually been in there. Amir Khan's wife should fight. So I remember the AJ, or Amir Khan accusing AJ of banging his missus. That was funny as hell. Love the York Hall. So many fantastic memories. I'd love to go. I would love to see it because every time I've been to London, there's never been a fight on in York Hall. And I'd love to go. Even if I didn't know anyone on the card, I'd still go just to experience it. I love the rafters in York Hall look crazy because like you could be up on the rafters and you literally probably have the best view of the fight. Like you were literally you're straight over the fighters. So I'd love to see it. It's in Bethnal Green. I've driven past York Hall when I've been in London, but I've never got into it. Do you know what's happening with that in the yard? Your guess is as good as mine, mate. I don't know. I reckon they might have an interim fight. They might get some kind of maybe past kind of contender for Anthony Yarde to fight, and then wait for the winner of Beterbiev versus Smith. Because I reckon they won't fight Canelo, the Canelo Bivol winner, until next year. So they might just get a defense in there, and I reckon that's what they're going to do. Yeah, the Hawk had amazing punching power. True punch, just like he wasn't even trying. Yeah, man, it was absolutely crazy. Like he would graze people with shots, like literally graze them. Some of them be part blocked, and people were just they weren't just going down. They were flying to the canvas. Like some of the knockouts he had, oh my god! The Terry Norris was his best win, and the way like when Norris always had was always a bit chinny anyway, but the way he was just, like the way that shot just landed and Norris just kind of froze. That was crazy. And like I said, Terry Norris always had a bit of he always was a bit chinny anyway. But the McCallum fight was good. Like Mike McCallum just destroyed Julian Jackson. G-Man, everyone counting GGG out against Canelo. Think he will be a different machine in that fight. Well, Kenny, I admire your optimism in that, but I just can't see it. I just can't see it. It's not the Triple G we had 5 years ago or 4 years ago. I just can't see him beating Canelo. And to be honest, I can't see it going the distance. I think Canelo will stop him to the body. And I hope he doesn't, because I would like to see Triple G go out getting stopped. But it's just, everything is telling me that he's going to get stopped. It's going to be interesting to see him come, April, over in Japan against Murata. I think Triple G 4 years ago stops Murata. Pretty straightforward. But now, although Murata's been out of the ring for a while as well, so we'll watch the space. But I think Triple G will get past Murata, but I can't see him winning. Eddie Hearn said a few times that Sunday night boxing could be a great thing. I definitely agree, but should only be reserved for bank holidays. Sunday night boxing shown at a pub would be great. Well, I don't think it should be only reserved for bank holidays. I really enjoyed the Cody fight that Sunday. I thought that was a brilliant idea from Eddie Hearn, and it was a good way of getting your fighter out on a specific day and not clashing, because that would have went up against Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, and we all know we all would have picked Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall. We all would have. And I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed having something to do on that Sunday, watch that fight. And, if I'd been out with my friends, it would have been something to watch as well. So, yeah, I like the idea. I like what Eddie Hearn's doing. I think he needs to do it a bit. Like, obviously, he tried to do Bellew versus Hay 2 on pay-per-view a couple of years ago before that got rescheduled to May of 2018. That would have been fun. I like midweek football and stuff like that. So what's wrong with doing like boxing on a Sunday or something like that? Johnny Tapia fought at York Hall. Yeah, Johnny Tapia. Great fighter, Johnny Tapia. Phenomenal talent. Johnny Tapia was a ledge. York Hall is a spit and dust venue. No frills, but there isn't really a bad seat in the house. Yeah, no, you're not going to get a bad seat in there. Just judging by the look of it, you're always going to get a good spot in there. How do you think Ben Davison has done in recent fights with Taylor and Wood? Yeah, with Leigh Wood, I didn't listen to any of the advice last night because I had the sound down. Listening to him today, sometimes I think he gets a bit too technical with his fighters when he shouldn't. Like, for example, when Leigh Wood went down, he was still trying to tell him about this, do this, this, this. It's like, your guy is just not going to be fully receptive. Just try and coach him through and stop trying to, make it to the guy barely knows where he is, just baby steps. And then as he's getting warmed into a fight, maybe then you can bring in, this is what you need to do here, this is how you adjust to this. And he was adjusted. I think Ben Davison, as I said several times, he's a better coach than a lot of people think, but he does himself no favors. Like, I remember when Fury was getting ready to fight Safiri, and this was after he lost all that weight. And obviously, you were going from Pete Taylor, you were obviously going from Peter Fury to Ben Davison. Ben Davison, no one knew who he was. He was an unknown trainer. I remember Hatman asking the question, was Ben Davison just a cheerleader? All right? And Ben Davison commenting on that video and posting all over Twitter. And he was basically saying, if I was just a cheerleader, how would Fury lose all this weight? And Hatman quite rightly pointed out, a boxing coach you don't define a boxing coach as being good by how much weight you got a fighter to lose. That's for weight loss coaches. You define by what you can bring to the table. Like, have you changed Fury in any way? Has his style changed in any way? Have you improved things in any way? We don't know. And he didn't. He just kind of copied and repeated what Fury did. So when I've seen people like Leigh Wood, and Leigh Wood has improved under Ben Davison, he has. People saying Josh Taylor has regressed under Ben Davison. I don't think he has. I think Josh Taylor looks pretty similar to how he did again when he was with Shane McGuigan. I just think Ben Davison puts his nose in it, puts his mouth in it too much, and that doesn't do him any favors. It's not really going to endear him to boxing fans. It's just going to upset a lot of them. Yeah, as I said, in terms of a few years ago, Triple G beats him. Now, Murat has been inactive, and he hasn't fought since 2019, I don't think. So I think that's a leveler. Where does Crawford go to? As I hear PBC, you're not interested. Ooh, a big fight in the UK against Taylor, possibly. Well, no, Taylor's top rank. Taylor's top rank, man. So I don't know. Top rank spoke bad about Crawford. So Ben Shalom. Will Ben Shalom be able to? With Golden Boy? Golden Boy won't work with PBC. Like, the Spence fight is on PBC. You kind of need to be there. So I don't really know. Triller. If Crawford wants to just get the bag, Triller. I don't know who the promoter is there, but if he wants to just get the bag, that's where you go. On football, on Sunday you have 2 games of football. Start the main event at 7, 3 title fights. Exactly. I think it's a great idea. Doing not every Sunday, but if you done 3-4 shows a year on a Sunday, perfect. That's brilliant. It's nice. I wouldn't mind doing it. And at least then, especially if it's colliding with other shows, you're not having to go back and forth between the two. You can just say, I'll watch this Probellum card on Saturday. I'll watch this Queensbury or Boxer card on Saturday. And I have matches to look forward to tomorrow. They're not clashing. Win for boxing fans. I hate it when they put them both on at the same time and you're thinking, I want to watch this fight, but I want to watch this and this. It's just just don't do it. It's just arrogance there. Yes, correct that you're exactly right. Spence versus Bundu was a Sunday night afternoon fight because we got that early. It was on at like 11 o'clock UK time. I remember watching that fight at the time. It was, I think, August 2016 and got huge ratings. It was good because it was late night in the UK, not middle of the night. Yeah, I remember that fight well, actually, very well. Watching that in the UK as well because it was on at like 11 o'clock. It was brilliant. It was on the, I think it was on Box Nation. I think Duva. Catty Duva. Really? No. No, he could. Terence Crawford could not sign with that woman. That woman runs her company out of a house in New Jersey. I work in New Jersey. New Jersey. I think that Davison is a good trainer, but he tries to prove it. Yeah, he doesn't need to do that. Like just sometimes I think Davison would be better off just advised to just keep your mouth shut. Just say it's a great win, etc., etc., and stop trying to make a name for yourself that way. Just stop. Just leave it be. Taylor can be mandatory for Crawford if he vacates the WBO and moves up. I expect him to. I think they already announced that. They already said that he's pretty much the super champion at 140. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it might have been someone else. But essentially what that means is that Josh Taylor, whenever he wants, he can move up and get an immediate crack at whoever's the champion at the time. So Josh Taylor against Crawford. I reckon with Josh Taylor, they'll get him a fight. I wouldn't even be shocked, right, if Michael McKinson looks good. I'm not picking Michael McKinson to beat Victor Ortiz this week, but if Michael McKinson in defeat looks pretty good against Victor Ortiz, wouldn't rule out him versus Taylor for Taylor's first fight at 147 pounds. They might even Josecito Lopez, someone like that maybe. They probably get someone like that, like a Josecito Lopez or someone like that, put him in there with Taylor for Taylor's first fight at 147 pounds. I don't see Taylor going straight in for a world title. Crawford did that. Crawford had Jeff Horn. Crawford, when he moved up to welterweight, he was moving up and going straight in there with Jeff Horn. It's hardly, it's not all that. Beating Jeff Horn. He beat the crap out of Jeff Horn and stopped him. And Jeff Horn's been subsequently beaten. He got beat by that guy. What was his name? Zarafa, the stripper that Kell Brook fought. He got beat by him. He got stopped by Tim Tszyu. So, yeah, I reckon they'll do something like that. Big up to Albanian boxer fight of the year. Yeah, it's so far, that's my fight of the year. Shouldn't they run? In an ideal world, yes, they would. Josh Taylor, I don't think Team Taylor are going to do that. I think that if they mandate it, they'll just say, I can't make the weight anymore. And why do we need to do it? We've already beaten them. So, in an ideal world, yes, I would like to see Jack Cattrall get his shot at Josh Taylor for all the belts, not just one. Not just say, all right, we'll fight, but only the WBC belts. I'm going to be able to know all the belts. He should have got it. It's not good enough, in my opinion. The Resolute, what they did, in terms of, we downgraded, Ian John Lewis. They really need to do. I reckon if they suspend some of their referees, indefinitely for a while, you'll see a lot of change. But there's so many other things that need to be changed. That's a whole other subject as well. There wouldn't be much money. No, there wouldn't. No, I reckon they'll try and rebuild Josh Taylor. And I reckon they probably would, just say, it's a domestic clash against someone like, Michael McKinson or someone like that. I reckon they'll try and rebuild him in that way. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. Because that Cattrall fight for now is going to be a while. Virgil. WBA, are the WBA supposed to be cleaning up the regular versus super champion? Should Woods fight the super champion? It's mad stuff. Well, mate, they've been saying that for years. I remember when Fury was WBA super champion, they were trying to clean it up and they never did. That was what? How many years ago? 6-7 years ago? 6 years. And they haven't done it. So that's always going to drag out. In terms of super champion, well, the super champion is Leo Santa Cruz. He's not fought at that weight in a couple of years, 3-4 years, maybe more. So Leo Santa Cruz is not going to fight Leigh Wood. They should just make him full champion and bin that regular title. It's just not needed. Chris Jenkins versus Marco is a very good fight, but Jenkins always gets injured. Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Florian Marco versus Chris Jenkins. I mean, Boxer really did hit it big, didn't they, with him? They really hit the jackpot with Florian Marco. Him versus Chris Jenkins is a good little step-up fight for him. I think Chris Jenkins has seen better days, though, to be fair, at this stage. But I definitely think that Boxer hit the nail on the head when they got him. And he's fighting on Savannah Marshall's show. I reckon they'll do, and that's so smart from a marketing point of view. That is just so smart, because that arena is going to be packed on fight night. It's going to be packed because of Florian Marco, because he just puts butts in seats. The Albanian fans, he's massive. He could probably do a stadium over in Albania, seriously. Marco is absolutely massive over there. Taylor won't take the fight. Got a showing up, and this is coming from a Taylor fan. He's not going to... I personally cannot envision Josh Taylor taking that fight, taking a rematch. I cannot see it, cannot envision it. I'd be very surprised if he did. I'd give him credit, of course, if he did take the rematch. But I just can't see it. I think that Josh Taylor is going to go and do his own thing. He's going to move to 140 pounds. And, yeah. Explain, G. Harper gets a title after getting KO'd bad and Warrington. Does that make the belts devalued? Was that Terry Harper for a world title fight? If it was, then that's pretty... I don't think that was a world title fight, though, mate. I'm pretty sure it was. No, it wouldn't have been, because it's not lightweight. Katie Taylor has all them titles. They give out like those little interim titles and stuff like that, but Warrington, they'll use the fact that it was a draw to justify the world title shot. Crawford will stop him very early. Taylor is a very mediocre fighter, in my opinion. I've said since 2019, I think Crawford is a genuine problem that can't be solved. Well, I'd pick Crawford as well. I would. But I definitely wouldn't be saying that, Taylor's mediocre. He's definitely a lot better than that. Hey, G-Man, can you, Jamie, Hatman, and Chris Andre please start a podcast? You are the Four Kings. I appreciate that, man. It's a good company to be named in as well. The Four Kings. Me, Jamie, Chris, and Hatman. And they're all great people as well. Well, I'm already in Hatman's Boxing Brotherhood. It's just it's just time-wise, we never have a chance to kind of get anything recorded. So hopefully soon we can get something done, because that's actually good fun being in that. And obviously it'd be lovely if we could get Jamie in there as well, because Jamie knows his stuff. He's a great guy. He's super cool. He's a great guy to chat with as well. Like, me and him done, 3 hours chatting? Just over pizza and beer. It was great fun. At the time Crawford fighting Horn was, to be fair, Horn was unbeaten coming off Manny Pacquiao fight. He was actually coming off the Gary Cochran fight. He beat Gary Cochran in the interim. Obviously Crawford was still a fan favourite going in, but nevertheless... Yeah, but I think we all knew that, look, Jeff Horn was okay. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't... The Pacquiao fight was a case of, I think, people underestimating Horn. I really do, because Pacquiao... Like, that wasn't... Yeah, I thought Pacquiao won the fight, but, like, it wasn't the robbery that Teddy Atlas made it out to be. Reckon Chris... No. I think Conor Benn's winning that fight. It's just a shame it's on as a main event. It's a shame it's on as a main event. Yeah, you could say Boots Ennis did, but Boots Ennis, that was behind closed doors. No one was able to see it. And obviously, when it's behind closed doors, they're not making the same amount of money as they would be if it was live, in front of a massive audience. Shane Fury versus Baby Ting. Oh, God, who would you give that one to? I'd give Baby Ting that one, man. I think Baby Ting, he's a unit, is Baby Ting. I'd give him the edge over Shane Fury. Yeah, there wasn't a word. See, they'll give little tricky titles like that out to anyone these days. I mean, you could lose 5 or 6 times. You could fight for like a little intercontinental title. Was it bro? Was it what? Was it bro for like a WBA? I think. I have no idea, mate. Maybe I'm reading that question wrong. I told Jamie, and he said he'd be down with you guys. Are awesome, really, really awesome to listen to. Yeah, man. I love doing all that. Like, I love being on like Jamie and Chris' channel. Whenever Hatman does the little meets, I always love being a part of that. It's great. So yeah, man, like anything like that would be great. And the fact that I get mentioned in with those guys now is crazy. Especially Ant-Man, like he was someone I watched for years. I was a big fan of listening to, I still am. You need Counterpunch in the podcast. He's class too. Yeah, Counterpunch is cool. There's so many good YouTubers out there, man. So many of them. More said Castro would rematch Taylor at 147. Maybe Taylor would be more interested at 147. But I think they'll just try and get into title for contention ASAP to maximize the time he's left. Yeah, I'd say that as well. I can't see. I just can't see a Taylor Castro fight happening. A rematch anyway. G-Man. Hashtag for consistency. Yeah, man. I hate going without not doing videos. Do you know that? It's just the way I've just been over the last few years. I'm just so used to just making videos all the time that like when I go like for any great length of time without doing it, I always feel the channel suffers as well. Like I like keeping the consistent growth and I like keeping it going. Counterpunch is cool. He turned down Avanesian. He wanted Avanesian to vacate the European title so he could fight for the vacant title. But then says Avanesian brings nothing to the table. Like, what does Chris Van Hayden bring to the table? Seriously, nothing. Did Eddie Hearn let Marky slip through his fingers as he was so preoccupied with Ben? Marky was calling out Ben. I don't know. You know, obviously Marcus fought on both shows. Maybe he just preferred to see. Maybe he sees more. You got to understand, right? Maybe some of these fighters who are signing with the Zone, maybe they're signing with them thinking I'll get a bit of money. But maybe Marky was thinking this crowd is going to be better. You know, long term, it's going to be more sustainable fighting on Sky. I'll have more opportunities. The Zone, if the rumors are to be believed, reports and stuff like that, they only have 50k UK subscribers, which is crazy considering like that's really low considering. So maybe Mark was looking at everything and thinking, you know what, Sky is a bigger platform with better promoting things. You know, as good a promoter as Eddie Hearn is, the Zone will only reach so far. You know, maybe he's just thinking long term it's better to be on Sky. Teddy, stereotypical Atlas. Big up Teddy Atlas. Shout out to Postman Pat. Let's have it right. That was another coaching masterclass in Ben Davis, just like Angelo Dundee. He just sees things that none of us else know, that none of us else do. He's gifted. He is a good coach. Like Ben Davison, for all the stick he gets, he is a good coach. He definitely is a good coach. I will give him that. Yes, Andy Ryan looked like a light heavyweight compared to Fares. What were they doing? Like, I just don't understand that concept. What the hell were they doing putting in a 3-0 up-and-coming prospect in against a former world champion who's she lost the last 3 fights. 2 world champions in world title fights. I just don't understand what they were doing with that. It just made no sense to me. That was always going to end in tears. No. I think they will be very wary of putting him in with Brook right now. With Conor Ben, he's never, like, even early on in his career, was never fighting punchers. And I think the main reason is because that Cedric Payneau fight. Cedric Payneau is not a puncher, not a noted puncher. He's not one of these deceivingly hard punchers. He was just a journeyman. And he not only dropped Conor Ben twice, but he hurt Conor Ben several times in that fight. Several times he was hurt. So I'm thinking that Team Hearn, well, there's no real way around it at 147 pounds. Like the more you step up, there are punchers at the division. Most of the guys in the top of the division are punchers. So there's no real way around it. Like if you're gonna put him in there with someone like Mean Machine, he can punch. You're gonna put him in there with someone like Boots Ennis. He's a tremendous puncher, as is Virgil Ortiz. There's no real way around it. So I don't know. Like I get the impression with Ben, they know they can make money off him, but they know as well he could be a ticking time bomb potentially in terms of him getting ironed out sooner or later. So they just want to get money now, and once he gets knocked out, okay, we'll see what we can do then. I wouldn't say they've surpassed Matchroom. No, I wouldn't. But they are definitely making strides. This year, do you know what I think is going to happen? Come the end of the year, we are going to be having serious conversations as to who had the better year. The Zone and Matchroom, or Boxer and Sky. Because although Ben Shalom, he hasn't surpassed, I don't agree with that, but he's definitely making big strides in the boxing world. Big strides. So Ben Shalom and Boxer will watch the space with them. because they really are stepping up their game. They really are. And I don't know about you, I've quite enjoyed a lot of the shows that they put on Sky. You know, I'll admit the undercard on The Good Few hasn't been amazing. It hasn't. But nevertheless, I've still enjoyed it, you know, watching it. I think that the quality of just everything on Sky seems to have improved a bit more. You know, even to the broadcast team, it's still not perfect, but compared to the Zone, I'll take Sky any day. And I never honestly thought I'd say that. I think one of the reasons as well why I was so disappointed with the Zone's team, and I'll go on about it, but I just, Eddie Hearn is a character. You know, there's very few characters in boxing, but Eddie Hearn is a character. He's outgoing, he's abrasive, he's everything that Sky don't want. You know, that's in a presenter. Not obviously he's a promoter, there's a difference. But with Sky, it's very rehearsed, PC. Just it's not nice. You know, you want a bit of charisma and a bit of tadas in there, if you know what I mean. So when Eddie Hearn left Sky and was going to the Zone, I was thinking, okay, like attracts likes. Eddie Hearn would get a brilliant team full of characters. Because I genuinely thought that Eddie Hearn would have liked to have the Paulies, you know, the Framptons, the Hayes in his team. But maybe Sky were like, they're a little bit too colourful, aren't they? So for him to bring the team he's brought on, Andy Leigh is fine, Ade is fine, Laura Woods is fine. The rest, oh my God. Like, that was just, and for him to say it's great, it's not great. It's terrible. I don't know what you were smoking when you brought that team together. That's possible Taylor does that. But the thing is, he takes so much unnecessary damage in fights. The Ramirez and Jack fight showed me that Taylor is getting his shit pushed back very soon. But don't get me wrong, I don't expect Taylor to stay undefeated. I really don't. I really don't expect him to go undefeated. And it depends, really. I mean, I want to see him at 147 pounds. And that's the thing I want to know. And I'll make my assumptions then. Imagine going rounds with Ebony Bridges, but not enough. Shout out to Ebony Bridges. Yeah, though, do you remember that Satanta Sports years ago? That was awful. Do you remember? You're bringing back memories. Satanta Sports, they were not good. I remember them. Sky's better platform. Carl Froch and Woods are good, but the rest of the presenters and analysts are poor. Well, Carl Froch isn't it? Are you talking about like in terms of him on the Zone last night? I think that was a once-off. Carl Froch is a good presenter. He's grown on me as a pundit. I used to not like him at all on commentary. I still can be a bit annoying on commentary, but he is actually not bad. Ade and Laura are fine. Andy Leigh is fine. I don't Costello, no. Barker, no. Chris Lloyd and that dead banter, no, thank you. Yeah. People underestimate the power of Sky, and even the likes of Adam Smith have been around and involved in some of the biggest fights of recent times. They know what they're doing. Yeah, they do. They really do. They know how to push boxing. They know how to market it. They know how to promote it. They know how to sell it. They know the good times to show the adverts for it. Sky's reach is so large compared to the Zones. And the Zone don't have it. Like, I genuinely believe that Eddie Hearn, when he signed with the Zone full-time, he had it in his mind that BT Sport, BT Sport, they're taking BT Sports on Champions League football, Premier League football, Championship football. I think they have Bundesliga as well. So I think Eddie Hearn was thinking, we've got a bigger platform coming that's going to help push boxing along. That's not happened. Nor have they got the Eurosport Discovery deal that's gone to propel him. So I think now Hearn's feeling the pressure. And I'm telling you now, lads, I wouldn't be shocked if come what the next fight camp, that the Zone team looks dramatically different. Because it's not just me, it's others as well who've been consistently complaining about the Zone team that something needs to change. So I wouldn't be shocked if Eddie Hearn has to stop and like put his ego to the side and say people don't like the production in terms of production value, they don't like the team. Get away with it on Sky. Don't know if I can get away with it now. Frampton too fruity. I like Frampton. I think Frampton's very good. Paulie, brilliant. I think a lot of it stems from an incident that happened at a Matchroom show a couple of years ago, or might have been 2 or something years ago, where a fan alleged Paulie spat on him. And I think they want to distance themselves with that. Like, Paulie Paulie is a fantastic. The McGregor thing, he brings that up too much, and I think he's been a bit annoying since then. But still, he's one of the best in the biz. He is one of the best in the business. And actually, before I read that, Paulie, when he was commentating for Sky now and again, he would always be the one who would check the Sky commentators. Like, do you remember the Crolla Linares fight, the first fight, where Sky were trying to make it like this fight was close, where it was anything but close? Yeah, Adam Smith and Carl Frost, and Paulie was like, it's not, guys. Stop saying it is, because this isn't a close fight. And they eventually stopped saying it, and it wasn't a close fight. But American perspective, I think Brock's bringing energy back into it. There is something about them, isn't there? They do just have that. I like it, like I really do. I think they're actually getting a lot better, and Macklin, Bland, Bellew, yeah. Matthew Macklin in small doses isn't too bad. He wouldn't be my go-to guy in small doses, but no, it's not, man. That died with the dinosaurs. Jesus. That went out with the dinosaurs, mate. Satanta. What about Bam Gardner? Not really my type. Not really my type is Bam Gardner. Great fighter, but not really my type. Afraid of Boo-Hoo Andrade. Oh, Charlo. Jesus, I was wondering why he was saying he's afraid of it. Jamal Charlo. I was wondering. I was like, why is he saying he's afraid of Boo-Hoo Andrade? Or Boo-Boo. Josh Taylor victim of his own, or Josh Kelly victim of his own success. They put him with Evanesian too early. Josh Kelly had his ego way out of check before that loss. He had Sky backing him, he'd Hearn backing him, he'd Boot backing him, he'd all these like channels like Boxing Legends TV backing him. They were getting millions of views with Josh Kelly like highlight reels, and I never rated Josh Kelly that highly because I saw a lot of flaws in his game that other people didn't. Even when he was fighting these journeymen, I was thinking you put him in there with a counterpuncher or a pressure fight, he's going to get battered. I was heavily favouring Evanesian to win that fight, and bear in mind, they wanted to put him in with Evanesian. So he fought Evanesian in 2021. They wanted him in with Evanesian in 2018. Can you imagine what Evanesian would have done to Josh Kelly? And I think he actually weighed in for that fight. And they pulled it at the 11th hour. Can you imagine what Evanesian would have done to Josh Kelly in 2018? That fight that might not even have gone 3 rounds. When I heard DAZN had Maya Jama, I knew to give up my hopes. DAZN had a good 2021, but the presenters are dull and it's very scripted. Yeah, like Laura Woods is a good presenter. She's not the most lively, but she's good. She's solid. Ade does a good job, as I've said before. I've no issue with him at all on there. I think he actually adds a bit of something to it. I think he's actually quite lively and he adds a bit of energy to it, especially whether he's interviewing or whether he's presenting. He has that energy. He's that energy about him that he can almost bring something out of even the promoters and the fighters. He's just got that energy to just be able to add something to it. Andy Leigh, his boxing brain is brilliant and he's very well spoken. He's very good articulating on commentary. As I said, the rest, Costello, no. I think Eddie Hearn had a chance to get a new, younger commentator, whoever that may be. If there was guys maybe on the small hall scenes or someone like that, or a radio commentator or something like that, get a new, young, fresh face in there to take over. He didn't do that. He went for Costello, who's always been a radio presenter. I think that with Barker, I never really cared for Barker. Lloyd, dead banter, don't want any of that. I think there's a lot of things he could do differently. Still plenty of time. And like I like my commentators and my presenters to have a bit of charisma. You know, I mean, like Hay and Frampton are actually quite good together. They have that chemistry. They have that bit of charisma. You know, Bellew, it's just weird. Like, and he is not like. Addie's always told me Bellew is really good, really nice guy. I always take my first opinion on someone to be quite right, and I've never felt even years ago there was something really off-putting about him, like really just weird about, and I just know the zone is only smaller in the UK. It's not doing what we would have thought. Probably, to be honest, about current affair too. Yeah, not just boxing. They don't want people like that, sadly. True that. That's one of the reasons why Chris Mason, you don't see him on another night TV. He's just too outspoken. And he's one of, like, in terms of darts, he's a darts pundit. He's one of the best in the business. And he's very entertaining to listen to. He knows the game. He's a good commentator, but he won't go further than, they won't put him on Sky. because he's not a suck up and he's outspoken. And I like outspoken people. A lot of people say I can be quite outspoken. I don't think I am. I just kind of say what comes to my mind most of the time anyway. And I think maybe it rubs people up the wrong way sometimes, but that's that. We'll definitely see Conor Ben getting stopped against someone he shouldn't. Just like his dad. Yeah, stopped against Watson and rebuild. I can easily see that happening. How many shows did Maya Jama do? 1 or 2? I think 3 or 4 altogether. She's done 2 fight camps. Then it was her birthday, so she took the next, 2 months off. I mean, if it's my birthday, I take maybe an extra day or 2. I don't take 2 months off. But apparently she was getting ridiculous amounts of money per show. Like, I mean, I'm talking ridiculous amounts. Like, what in God's name Hearn was thinking, beyond me. I never knew. I didn't even know who Maya Jama was till I heard that. And then when I heard her talk, I was like, okay, well, I wonder how she got to where she is. The Zone has Mexican featherweights that itself show the quality of boxing is higher than in Sky. Yeah, well, they do have good quality fighters, the Zone as well. It has to be said, but at the end of the day, Sky only have they've only got Boxer recently, so you got to give them a bit of time to build that stable. Kavalaskis, yeah, I think he would. Bellew always pluses for the house fighter. We know, yeah. That, again, like that's why I don't want him as a pundit. It's look, I don't particularly like Bellew as a person, but I always keep it objective. He was a tremendous fighter. He was a brilliant fighter, and he was a great cruiserweight. And even if you put him in today, he'd be given a lot of cruiserweights. Like he might not beat them all, but like he'd give Breeders fits. He probably wouldn't beat a collie. The reach would be just too much, especially kind of that style always worked against them when they've had a reach advantage. But Bellew was a tremendous fighter, but he's just not a good pundit, and he is proper. Like the way he got that job is by sucking up to Eddie Hearn. You know, that literally like being biased and sucking up. That's the only way how he got there. And I don't like that. I don't want it. I don't want a presenter or a pundit who's going to be like that. I want someone who's going to call it like it is. You know, who's not always going to score. Like Leigh Wood was the house fighter. He had that fight so close because Leigh Wood was the house fighter, and then he has to come out and. You know it's bad when a pundit is always going on Twitter having to defend himself for what he said on thing about this or what card he gave. It shows that pundit doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just pulling for the house fighter. Like how many times that Bellew's been reprimanded by Sky. He's had to put statements out because he's been shouting at the house fighter, do this. He's been scoring the fight too close. If you're having to consistently explain yourself why you're doing this, a bit like a judge, you're in the wrong game. And you need to rethink things, because why do you need to keep explaining, oh, I did this and this, that, and the other? It's like, well, when do you see pundits, have to do that? Like a Tim Bradley or someone, you very seldom, if ever. I don't think I've ever seen Tim Bradley do it. Am I looking forward? Yeah, I am. I wouldn't be a massive gamer now, mate, to be honest with you, but I will buy that, yes, and I will play it. And maybe I'll even do some streams on here. Who knows? Do like a stream like this, but whilst playing the game. It's boxing though, so Paulie can stick to boxing instead of the dumb comments he makes. It's freedom of speech at the end of the day. Boxers have Paulie and Savage Dan work for Chelsea FC and other companies, which is interested in connecting with the younger audience and newer audience. The Zone is to Mr. Nice Guy, which is annoying. Yeah. I reckon Ben Shalom, if Ben Shalom had a bit more sway in who the presenters and stuff are, I reckon he might actually do a decent job. Yeah, that was awful. Like, he used the excuse that his mate was fighting, so you have to expect that, well, no, you're paid to do a job. Like, you're not paid to be calling your... Like, it's just strange. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. And like, as I said, like, people say, like, oh, you rant too much about it. Because I'm watching this, I don't want to be constantly listening and thinking my ears are bleeding, listening to this crap that's coming out one of the presenters' mouths. If you have to keep explaining yourself after every show, oh, I did this because of this, oh, I did this because of this, you're not in the right game. Like, you have to explain why you were shouting in this fighter's corner, why I scored the fight this way when everyone else had it this way to the away fighter. When you're having to keep explaining yourself, you're obviously, that is telling you, you're obviously in the wrong game. You're obviously not very good at your job. So obviously look towards a different avenue, I like that Queensbury and BT are remapping shows, smaller cars, new prospects coming up. Yep. And Sky and Matchroom only do stadium shows. Well, I didn't even know because it wasn't really advertised quite well that card that was happening on Friday, so I haven't seen it yet. But look, a match like Queensbury, they don't have a deep stable. They haven't signed a lot of fighters, so they need to build them. And why not build them now? So they'll build them on small hall shows. So look, I'll watch the space with Fish Eyes and Queensbury. We'll see how that goes. And people, have just gone over an hour and 20. If you have any more questions, pop it in now. If not, I'm going to call it quits here for the night, and I'm going to get recording on review of the week. Before I go, there's 96 in the chat, 54 likes. If you could, smash the like button. It does help your boy out, getting you up to kind of 60, 70 likes, if we could, just for this video. And yeah, I like that. If you don't have any more questions, I'm going to call it here. I'm going to get a video recorded. I'm going to get a review of the week recorded now when I finish up here and get that up for you guys first thing in the morning. So, everyone who locked in, appreciate you joining. It's been a good one. It's been a fun one. We had some good questions. The way it goes from talking about this fight to talking about punditries and stuff like that changed real quick. Appreciate that, mate. I really do appreciate that. But, mate, what's that saying there? The fact that YouTube boxing does more about robberies than any actual boxer. Man, we take what we can get with it, but good stream, man. Appreciate that. Great show. Lads, I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace for now. I'll chat to you tomorrow.